Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 24th, 2022 CALPADS Q A. My name is Paul Higgins. I'm a data analyst working at CISA supporting CALPADS. Jumping into the announcement today, obviously CALPADS had a technical fault this morning that was reported and diagnosed later in the day, and they're working on it currently. I do not know how this impacts the processing or timelines or anything else for the deadline. But if you want to report the outage, we already know about it, so we don't need any more tickets on it. But it should be up and running again as quickly as the devs can handle it. And with that, if you have any other questions, concerns, whatever, please put in a service desk ticket and we'll continue to help you as quickly as we can. Angela, do we have anything for upcoming bug fixes?
We do, Paul. Hold on 1 second, and I'll share that. So these are things that are in testing or have been tested for the next Tuesday release. There is a lot more on the list that's expected to be coming, but we're only at Wednesday, so there's a few more days in the sprint. So these are just ones that are coming soon. I'll leave that up for a minute. We also, before I stop sharing, I'll show you that known issues have been updated as well. So in the footer of CalPads, we should have a 3 p.m. update in here that has all of the fixes that went in yesterday. And again, you do have to keep a careful eye on your revision date. So if it was a CDD or a cert error or a report problem that you were having, and it says fix implemented, you may be lagging behind a little bit. The revisions are taking longer than we would like. And so just make sure that your revision is after yesterday afternoon, I would say 3 p.m. Then you should see those fixes actually showing up. Okay, now over to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Jumping into the chat box, 301, Dominic. If an LEA has certified end of year 3 and 4, would they be relatively safe to submit 22-23 SPED records? Just so long as the SCNR data exists, I don't think you'd run into any problems. But of course, some of the SCNR data has been problematic recently too. But if you have created the enrollments for 22-23 and you want to assign the SPED data to them, I don't see a problem right now.
So I think something to be aware of, Dominic, is that when you certify, it freezes that snapshot and that won't change. If you, by whatever chance, have to disapprove and then work off of a different revision, then that's a different story. But once you certify, that revision is frozen and is what we will use and won't gain any more errors. It's locked in.
Moving on to Rebecca, 302. Will putting up a CELA record dated today for a student enrolled in the future affect the 30-day testing window? I thought it was based on enrollment start date.
I was going to say the same thing. I think you're right, Paul.
Good. Everybody's on the same page then. I think it starts with the enrollment start date. So if you put it up today on a future dated enrollment, I believe that the clock starts ticking on the date of the enrollment.
And Brandy has that locked away in her brain, I think, what the regulation is on that.
Well, if she joins us, we can possibly revisit this as time allows. So Ed at 302, question 1, are coordinator accounts only for user maintenance? LEA admin accounts, it used to be just solely all alone. That was the only role assigned to them. Now the LEA admin can have all the roles assigned or limited amounts assigned, but the LEA admin is the one responsible for all account maintenance within the LEA. So that's why there's usually 1 or 2 of you there. So that way it doesn't fall into one person. And then if you're out for any period of time, they're dead in the water. So coordinator account, I'm reading as LEA admin. And it depends on how many roles you assign to that account as to what it can and can't do.
I think in the old days, we did used to separate it. You had one account as the admin, and then you had another account to do everything else. But when we did the redesign of the, was it 508, and we had to bring in the SELPA roles, that's when we changed the security model.
I think that was the timeline, yes. Melissa, 302, end of year 4. I have 3 fatal errors from PSTS 0481 and SPED 521. Any idea when they will be addressed or fixed?
Now, sometimes what you experience could be legit. So we don't want to assume just because you have those errors, it automatically means it's a bug. But PSTS 481.
481, we had a bug on it. It got worked on, and it didn't look like it passed testing. So I'm checking in with them now.
I think it was as design or something, but maybe not.
No, she has a code for it. It just I think it
Didn't
got
get
sent
in.
back.
And it looks like the 521 was implemented yesterday. So if you have a new refresh dated yesterday at noon or later, and those problems still exist, we would expect them to be legitimate errors. So if you're still experiencing problems with those on a newer revision, please open a service desk ticket and let us take a look at that with you.
But go back to the PSTS 481. Melissa, be sure that your data scenario is such that the student did exit and it's triggering on an exited student.
And a lot of the PSTS 481s that I've been working on, they're reporting in the wrong year is the problem, because it's PSTS data is reported in the academic year following the qualifying exit. And what I'm seeing is a lot of those exits were 2 years ago. So it should have been reported last year. That's been a big one that I've seen.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's see. Denise 302, is there an update? Is there an updated list of what CDD/cert errors that we can and cannot work on?
No, we haven't updated that. Although I don't know if the system update has some of that information. It's very few that still have problems, but I think, Denise, that sometimes they're just a specialized data scenario. So just because it's a defect, it may not impact you, right? You may have a data scenario where it's legit. So I would try to work on all of them until you look at it and it doesn't believe to be an accurate error.
All right, Laura at 302, will the SIMP 453 be corrected by 9/1? If not, can we expect it to be turned into a warning?
And maybe she's referring to the 22-23 records.
Yeah, our SIMP 453 issue has been ongoing with those future enrollments, and I don't know what the development status is on that.
I thought it was slated for next week, but because when Angela did that, they haven't yet begun or they're not done with it. It's not in testing, so it's hard.
Yeah, it's in the backlog. It is slated for the 30th, but it has not been checked in yet, so there's no tester working on it.
All right, Carol 302, why is CalPADS running so bad? It was down most of the weekend and today was unusable.
So Alex has the homepage up. We do have a message up there about that. Different problems. So what happened to us over the weekend was something unrelated to what's happening today. So they're chasing that down. It's taking longer than we would like, and kind of a frustrating day for us as well. So we feel ya.
And Shelley at 303 is asking a similar question. The system is a little chug today. I assume it's just because of high use?
Very generous way to say it, Shelley.
Paul, I think you added in an extra chug there.
Well, it's a nice alliteration. Chug just didn't roll off my tongue well enough, so I had to add the extra one. Sorry. Chris at 303, are we okay to go ahead and delete overlapping records for this Sprig 254? And that one had to do with
NSLP, the NSLP. If you have an overlapping NSLP record, figure out the one that you got to get rid of and keep one of them. So yes, you should delete them. That's the only way you're going to clear that error.
And up on screen, Alex was highlighting the guidance from Flash 234. Sprig 254 should work to resolve those errors as they appear to be legitimate. So yes, delete the duplications. And moving down to Carol, 303. Simp 453, cleared my last 10 fatals Monday manually. Today, 10 new ones popped up. Can I expect a new layer in every revision?
I would guess that had to do with some new 22, 23 students added, Carol. So if you have site level users that are adding new enrollments for this year, that could be causing that.
All right. And Melissa, I see your Q2. Nancy Baum 303. By what date must a child turn 4 to be eligible for TK in 22-23?
By the time of their enrollment, right?
Yeah, so I know this question has come up. This is Paula. So I have sent a question to our program office about this specifically as to whether or not you could enroll a kid, like say his birthday's in, August, and they're 3 still, but they don't turn 4 until and they're in school, they're already there. They don't turn 4 until later. I'm asking them whether or not you can still enroll them, but the issue simply is that they don't get ADA for them. But then we have a validation in CALPADS that doesn't let you enroll them as a kindergarten student. So it would allow us to loosen up that validation. But in the meantime, Martha, you basically have been telling folks to work around, right?
Yeah, that don't enroll them as a kindergartner until they actually turn 4, or another option, and I don't know, if you can change their grade level to PS until they turn 4 and then give them grade KN when they turn 4. Those are 2 ways.
All right. Lily at 303. Will there be communication regarding the issues with requesting SSIDs? LPAC coordinator is requesting information.
So I'm assuming the issues with the SSID matching tool.
That not being able to locate the SSIDs after they're created too.
Or some people are waiting to get SSIDs until EOI is done. I don't know. I'm not sure, Lily, what issues specifically you're referring to, because there's a lot. And maybe that's what you want. The basket of issues.
Yeah, basket of issues. Good way to say that. Daniela, 304. Will there be any improvements on how quickly snapshots generate? Pre-CalPADS redesign, we would get new snapshots overnight, which wasn't ideal, but at least we knew we could come in the next day and have a new set of CERT reports to look at. Now I'm waiting over 24 hours for new snapshots, and I'm not able to make further changes because I don't want to move my school out of the new snapshot queue.
We're working on it, Daniela. I think what has compounded the issue with revisions overnight is the data discrepancy refresh. So we have to now take that refresh into account before doing a refresh on revisions. So that's why it may appear to be, or it is, taking longer to get a revision, because it's not just about the data that you posted. It's about first running data discrepancies on that data and then doing the revision.
All right, Anita, 304. I still have SPRG 70s, but I thought that was fixed. Is this still an issue?
So good catch. That was on the list of things that were fixed yesterday, but unfortunately I sent it back. It's not working the way we thought it would. And it's not so much the error itself that's the problem. From what we've seen, the SPRG 70 is a valid error, but what happens is when you go to close out the older program record, the system doesn't let you. You get these validation errors that don't make any sense. And so we'll hopefully get that in for this coming Tuesday.
But I want to add, this is one of those errors where there are some legitimate SPRG 70s that the system will allow you to remove the overlap. This scenario is when you attempt to remove the overlap, the system doesn't let that happen. And that's what we're trying to fix. So that's why you have to sometimes, take a look at what SPRG 70s you're able to remove.
When you say remove, Martha, are you saying add the end date?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, it's just because I don't want people taking out good data. It's not that the data is wrong. It just didn't get closed out.
Yes,
properly.
You're right. I'm confusing those scenarios. Yes, usually you have one record that has a start and an end date, and then you have another one that has a start date, but it never closed, and so it's overlapping the latter one. So you're right, Angela. Sorry.
Okay, that's why we have each other, Martha.
All right, at 3:04, Rebecca Morales, Q1. Is there a plan to recognize the most recent CIMF among all certifications throughout the year for required fields, such as the parent ed level, race, U.S. school entry date, etc.? It makes no sense that we send up our updated information, but the system is acknowledging the initial shell record that went up when we first assigned the SSID to the students, especially when we did not have all of the CIMF info. It's as if you sent up a skeleton version of our CIMF without our permission. This causes us grief every year, and I have over almost 2,000 records missing the parent ed level for various reasons, including this one, and it requires hours and hours to manipulate the file to try and fix these records.
So it's triggering on the stub CIMF that we create. That'd be an accurate representation, Mark and Angela.
Sorry, I just lost connectivity and I'm back now, so I can't answer whatever your question is.
That's what I heard, Brandy.
Yeah, okay. So, and just because, again, I don't work on the service desk side of it as much as Martha and Angela and Nate and Paul and everybody, but was this an issue last year? This was not triggering on the stub CIMF record, where those are expected to be blank.
It was, right? It was, it's
Cert 4.
Yeah, it happens anytime that the CIMF overlaps the enrollment. And so if it's missing any of those required fields, so that's not new to the CALPADS redesign.
Okay, so the expectation in legacy would have been, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to work through this in my head to try and figure out sort of a strategy for communicating.
I think we would want Rebecca, to talk to her SIS and make sure that the SINF effective start date that's getting exported out of the SIS is matching up with their enrollment date in CALPADS. So they might need to be doing some kind of reconciliation before she sets up her SINF.
Laura, 304 still has 316 Sprigg 70s. Should I be fixing these manually now since the fix already went in? Well, as Angela said, she rejected the fix that was installed yesterday, so they are actually revisiting that problem. Mika, 304, is Tom's pulling Cella records from CalPads daily again? I believe it is, but we had a couple failures recently, and I don't know today's status.
Yeah, we did. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is if you know that you've got appropriate data in the system for the students, and when I say appropriate data, I mean an enrollment record that is open, not closed. It can't have an exit date, has to have a primary or short-term enrollment status. The student's grade level has to be kindergarten through 12th grade, and you have a Cella record with a TBD status and a language other than English. If all those components are in CalPads and it's been more than 48 hours and you don't see that student in TOMS, then it is possible that your student is getting caught up and is in sort of another defect that we discovered, which is that initially there was a bug allowing you guys to send up demographic records with blank first and last names and birth dates and gender. When those records are then sent over to TOMS, the test registration system cannot process those records because those required demographic fields are missing. And so those kids are being held in limbo. And right now we're looking at about 150 kids. So it's possible, if your records meet those criteria that I talked about earlier, and you know that everything's right in CalPADS, but you know the student's getting just hung up and you don't see them in TOMS, then please send a ticket. You can put my name on it, and I will let you know whether or not your student is one of those students missing demographic criteria. I am reaching out individually to all those districts to get them to make the corrections, and we've since addressed the defect that was previously allowing those fields to come up blank. That went out on Tuesday.
Thank you, Brandy. Carol, 304, when will the SSID tool be workable?
We have various bugs in the backlog. So,
yeah. But I also know that the developer that's been working on it has been out. So that's probably been stalling a little bit of the progress.
So it's hard for us to give you an actual release date, Carol. There's a few things he's got to work on.
All right, and Alex at 304 is asking if there's training available for the SSID matching tool, and we do have that available. And as Alex is pointing out on the screen, it's available in the What's New section, and the training videos are available off of our YouTube page, but also accessible via this page. And just as a side note, Nate and the trainers did a great job on this, and they're very thorough. So as you go through it, just pay attention, take notes, and also reference back to this SSID matching tool section of the user manual.
And I would say too, when you're watching the YouTube videos, you can get to the table of contents, and so you can zero in on exactly the area that maybe you want to know more about.
And I did, this is Marshall talking, I did add the table of contents into the chat if you want to download it. That's a copy of a Word document copy that you can just hover over and find what your information that you want to find and click on it, and it should take you right to that spot.
Perfect. Thank you, Marshall. Tiffany Castro is sharing SBE's contact information if anybody was interested. Mary Masters, Q1. When comparing my 7.11 and 7.12 and 7.16, 7.18 reports, there's a known issue, 6316, stating end of year 3 snapshot reports, 7.11 and 7.12, include students with disabilities without active plans on the incident date. My question is, why the issue is about active plan and not SPED program participation eligibility? I would think that the 7.11 and 12 are correct and the 7.16 18 are missing students. Can someone address this? My results showed valid SPED students are on the 7.11 and 7.12, but are not included on the 7.16 and 18.
Randy, you have that in your head?
Yeah. So I believe, yeah, I was actually working with Meredith on this. I believe that we're submitting a change request to modify that logic so that students that were active SPED, who were participating in the special education program on the date of the incident, are included in those reports. So it is going to require a change to the logic.
All right, thank you, Brandy.
Okay.
Shelley, I see your Q2. Cedric, 307, Q1. Has anyone experienced exit codes being removed for 21-22 exit? This is the second day in a row that we have had new CERT 131 errors. The latest was a CCE, so I'm wondering if it has anything to do with that. I've not received any reports of enrollment dates being changed or exit codings being changed or removed on the service desk, and I've not heard any mutterings about that.
What is CERT 131? And what submission? Anybody remember?
End of
I
year
think it's end of year 3.
They haven't exited their enrollment.
No, no, wait a minute, 131.
Mm.
Yeah, there it is. Student enrollment record not exited. No, Cedric, I have not heard of this. So if you are seeing this, take some screenshots, open a service desk ticket, and show us what's going on, please. Rebecca, 307 Q1 cohort data. When will it be collected? Is it still the 26th, or does it match the end of year due date? Cohort will end with end of year, lockstep. So if end of year ends on 9/9, the cohort will end on 9/9. Elsa, 308. I have some students that other districts merged as mids. They are in fact different students, and their records now have duplicate enrollments, etc., for all grade levels. How can these be separated? The mid-merge is a one-way street. Once you go down it, you never come back. You have to recreate the student and add as much data back in as is possible. And I know that's not good news. I apologize.
And then get rid of it from the other kid, right?
Yeah. All right, and I see Carol's Q2. All right, June 308. So if we haven't certified end of year 3 or 4 yet, then we should not be sending up SPED files for current year?
You want to handle that, Brandy?
So if you can hold off on doing it, and I'm talking about just about SPED records. What we're trying not to do is have you send up current year SPED records and then in error, a certification data discrepancy is generated for the current end of year submission. So if you can hold off, please hold off. Right now, the special education FUMPA teams are not conducting their monitoring specifically because of these issues that we're having with end of year. So, even though you guys have to do your due diligence and you want to make sure that, all of your IEPs are happening in a timely manner, and your evaluations, et cetera, and those are things that you should monitor within your SED system. But if you can hold off sending them up to CalPADS until you've certified, that would be preferable.
Thank you, Brandy. Ethan, 308, Q1, seconding Rebecca Morales' 304, having cert fatal errors trigger on the stub SIMP record that are automatically created by CalPADS from SENR data is a tremendous hassle. Might it be possible to stop creating those stub records via SENR and only create SIMP records when we actively create them ourselves?
That's something that we would have to talk about.
Although we did get a fix in, I thought, to not cause problems with the stub record, that it's more complete, but I don't know, maybe not. But that's an interesting idea, Ethan. Great thinking outside of the box.
Larney at 309 Q1, we have a situation where a 10th grader was expelled from school for the first semester of this academic year, the 22-23. He is a student with disabilities, and he's being referred to a county alternative program as part of his transition to the alternative school. An other review meeting was held on 8/19. Are we supposed to send the other review meeting to CalPADS? If we do, how do we enroll him at the school? Who conducted the meeting?
So let me go through this. Expelled from the school first semester, being referred to county alternative. So other review, I'm not sure what other review, do you mean you conducted another annual review? The annual plan review on 8/19, and that was conducted by the new school. So the LEA that was responsible for, I don't know if I understand this question, Arnie.
Brandy, there's a SWD reporting scenario as well available for this. Probably it's scenario number 11, and probably is the scenario that would probably depict or closest to Arnie's situation here. And it's the county office, obviously, who's going to be the reporting LA at that point. I agree with you, Brandy. The other review, is that an annual or an IP review? If so, then that's obviously reportable, but for their SPED. However, it seems like the other review is something that you need to confirm whether that's an IP review first before submitting it.
Right, and I mean, it may constitute an amendment. It may constitute an annual plan review. The distinction, Larnie, is that the annual plan review actually resets that 365-day clock. So that's the distinction. If they actually did a plan review, then it resets that student's 365-day annual plan review requirement. So it could also have been an amendment. Just depends. Amendments don't reset the clock. So I don't know if that answered your question in its entirety.
All right. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Brandy. Hope at 3:10. I uploaded an SENR file today for over 200 students in CalPADS. CalPADS gave me an error message and said to try again later. I made the mistake of trying again later, only to find out they did actually upload previously. I now issued new students or new SSIDs 3 times for the same students. What are my options?
We may have to get back to you on that, Hope. Yeah, that's not good.
Really loud.
So Hope, send in a ticket. We may have to, I don't know. We have to talk to the developers on this. I don't know how we straighten out this one.
But straighten it out we will eventually, somehow. So please open a ticket and we will start the process. Brianna, 3:10. Are there issues with requesting SSIDs? I have 2 students that enrolled at the end of 21-22 from a foreign country that I need an enrollment record for. I requested the SSIDs. It states that it was successful, error-free, and posted, but then I cannot find them. I have 2 service desk tickets without any response. Please help.
So I think your first ticket, Rick did respond on the 19th. And we haven't gotten to your second request, but I don't know, Brianna, if you are aware that you have to go to the SSID extract to find your new SSIDs. And if you did that and they're not in there, then that's what we need to hear, that you've looked in the SSID extract. And
when you're pulling that extract, you're doing it by a date range. And if you only put up 2 students and you know what school they're in, you can isolate it to that school. And then for the start and end dates, you want to kind of bracket their enrollment start dates. So you're looking maybe 1 day before and 1 day after. So that way you're not looking at the entire academic year of enrollments. And then you can set those dates. And if you know the grade level, you can even narrow it down further to limit your search results. But then once you request it and it generates, you're going to pull out, this Excel sheet with all the enrollments that started on that day at that school in those grades. And you can use the primary demographics that you have access to search that list to locate your SSID. It's rather burdensome at the moment, but that is the way that we have found to work with this at the moment.
And I would also add to give us the local ID of the student, because that then helps us to look in the file for you as well. But without a local ID, we don't know what kid you're looking for, so we have nothing to go on. So local ID would help.
Yeah.
And a job ID.
All right, 310, Vicky Fisher. Any chance the parent ed fatal error might be changed to a warning?
In the SIMF? Not at this time.
All right, Chris at 311. What is the status of SPED 366, last mentioned to be over-triggering in Flash 226?
Wow. I was thinking the SPED errors are all in good working order, or we've disabled them or turned them into warnings. So I didn't realize SPED 36 was still an issue.
I'm
It's not on the phone issue.
That means it's, we are assuming that's a valid error. So unless you tell us otherwise, Chris.
All right, moving on. Okay, Rebecca, I see your Q2 at 311. All right, Tricia 311, Power School users. I just Zoomed with Stephanie C, and she is aware, and I'm helping her figure out her way through the new validation in CalPADS is affecting our records. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Power School. Thank you, Stephanie.
And Chris, I see your Q2. Moving on to Claudia 312. Will there ever be a point when the validations during the upload are validating for everything all at once? Well, in the new way to get everything up there, we're not staging all the data in there where it can parse it all, and that's why it kind of breaks it up into two passes. And that first one is just for formatting and general errors. And if you pass that, then you go directly into the second layer of all of the IVR validation. But if you fail it, then it kicks you out on the basic level of saying, fix the formatting, the date, whatever it is, that is just fundamentally wrong in the file. So if you can send up data that's clean on that level, you'll only ever go through a single pass because you'll always have the right format. You'll always have the right everything in the file as it's supposed to be. So if you can do that, then 99% of the time you're just going to go straight through into that second level of IVRs. Right now it kicks it out so it doesn't continue processing on bad data and take up more processor time and take up more time in the queue and cause more time there. That was one of their speed enhancements, was to break up those validations into two passes just to make everything a little bit quicker. So to answer that question directly, I don't think so. I think that they are going to stick with this architecture as is unless it becomes problematic. So Heather, 312, SIMP 453 is also triggering on students who have the parent ed level in one demographic record, but not all.
That's by design, right? That's what I was saying, is that if your SINF overlaps any point of your enrollment, it's got to, or not even overlap. I think just any SIMP, it looks for all of them to have the correct data populated.
But I think it's also conditional that if you give us parent information, actually the parent ed level, we weren't really collecting it for the second guardian though.
Second guardian? Is that
triggering on students who have a parent ed level in one demographic record, but not all?
I thought that was an effective date, right? One SIMP, but not the other.
Got it.
But folks, the other thing I wanted to reiterate, and the reason that that is by design, is because you have to think of the socioeconomically disadvantaged category, and that does apply for accountability purposes in all of the accountability measures. So for example, if you have a student that was disciplined on a certain date, right? They had an incident and they were suspended on a certain date. CalPADS has to have the ability to determine whether or not the student was actually socioeconomically disadvantaged on that date, right? And the only way that we can do that is if the parent ed level, because that's one of the components, obviously. If the parent ed level is populated on all of the SIMs that overlap the reporting period for the academic year.
Okie dokie. Learning Year Q2, Russ at 313. Are we expected to correct SIMP 453 error prior to census day for records from the 21-22 school year? It's a huge task for a lot of users here, if that is required. So if the SIMP 453...
You're expected to get it done for EOY because these are 21-22 records. So EOY is expecting you to get them done, not prior to census day. I don't know. Am I not understanding that question?
No, I think that there's an underlying assumption there that we're going to somehow allow the SIMP 453 to become a warning or something for end of year, which would then carry over the problems to fall 1. But if they're addressed now, then they won't exist at fall 1. So if we do relax the SIMP 453 and it becomes a warning and all sorts of, those errors still exist, passing through end of year, then all of the problems will still remain for fall 1 and you will still have to fix them. That's my reading of this. So, Julie at 313, what is the status on CERT 128 missing absence summary data for students? My ticket says it is being written up.
So Julie, I found your ticket. Someone is working on it and will be responding to you shortly, just so folks know that the service desk is getting more than twice the volume that we normally do, and it has been for the past couple of weeks. So we are a little bit behind, up to 24 hours in some cases, like revisions or give us 24 hours. We usually, are try to respond to you same day, and unfortunately we just don't have the manpower to keep up with you right now.
All right, 314, Aurelia. Regarding literacy intervention teacher at elementary level, K through 5, push in, pull out model. These teachers are currently coded with job class 27, have a non-rostered course with a state course code 9230. Q1, if our LEA decides to roster these students, would it cause issues with assignment monitoring, fall 2, or end of year certification? We are trying to figure out if there are repercussions we haven't thought about.
If they roster kids with pull-out teachers, I think 9230 is pull-out, right? I can't remember, RSP teacher. Yeah, there we go. Okay. No, there's actually nothing wrong with you rostering kids. Now, the only thing that I will say is that once you provide students in that course, if any of them are English learners and that teacher does not have an EL certification, EL authorization, then that could potentially create an issue. But other than that, it should not be an issue. In fact, I know our accountability folks would really love it if all of you guys attach students to all of your pull-out, push-in assignments.
All right, and Brandy, you're just like Columbo minus the dirty overcoat with the just one more thing remark. It's always the one more thing. And it was always that one last thing that always incriminated them.
Dirty overcoat. I might have a dirty overcoat.
We'll get it at the dry cleaners. You don't need to wear dirty clothes. Anyway, moving on to Terry, 315. We have lost days due to the system being down that encroach on our 14-day extension. What is What is the state's fallback plan if LEAs cannot certify on time? Working nights, weekends, and regular long work weeks is not realistic even when the system is functioning.
Paula, are you still there? Oh, she left me hanging. I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know. You know, our plan is that we are going to try and do everything we possibly can. And I know that folks at CSIS are working really diligently to make sure that you guys are able to get certified. So right now we're just focused on trying to get you over the finish line. I can't really give you any sort of contingency plans because right now we're just very optimistic that we'll be able to get you there. I know you can hear it in my voice, right? The optimism.
Yeah, you're just oozing optimism, Brandy. Oozing.
You know what? You have to laugh yourself.
All right, moving on to Suzanne at 3:15. Q1, I am getting CERT 128 fatal errors now for TK students who are under the age of 5. Is it really data worthy to track chronic absenteeism on non-compulsory attendance aged children? Can this age group be a warning?
All right. Is that a question for me?
What's that?
Yeah. Yes, because they're TK students are KN, and that's non-compulsory attendance. So why do we force them to report them in the STAS file?
Well, we've always required CAN students to be reported too.
And TK are by definition kindergartners. So
the explanation that I always got from David Copperud, who was he's since retired, but he was our attendance expert. I mean, the explanation that I always got from him was early indicators of chronic absenteeism are predictive of the student's likelihood in graduating, right? So if you even a kindergarten student who, even though kindergarten is not compulsory, if they are chronically absent during kindergarten, they're likely to develop patterns of chronic absenteeism in subsequent grades. And that's why we track it, because it's important.
I like that. I'll remember that one.
And in fact, the kindergarten students tend to have higher rates of chronic absenteeism. I guess we shouldn't be surprised as it's non-compulsory, but you know, parents tend to think, oh, it's okay if my kindergarten student misses a few days. So that's kind of what they're trying to address.
All right. Carol, 3:15. I put a ticket in on end of year 3 SIMF PED errors showing up in my kinders this year. Oh, thank you. Parent ed errors showing up on my kinders this year, and I am seeing others posting about the same thing. What is the status on this? I was not able to manually correct the few that were valid errors. Can't delete, modify, or insert new SIMP without getting the oops, something went wrong message. No response to my ticket yet.
Today's a bad day. I think a lot of people got oops, something went wrong, right?
Yeah, it's also one of the reasons we're falling behind on our tickets too, because we're as we're troubleshooting, it's impacting us as well, right? We're not able to do things that would help us resolve a ticket. So kind of a compounding problem there. But in terms of missing parent ed level on this year's students, do you mean 22, 23 or 21, 22? We're kind of in a funny spot with whatever this year means.
We'll try to get to your tickets too, Carol.
Eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
It might be tomorrow before we catch up.
All right, at 3:15, E. Perez. Hello, everyone. I am new in this position and currently working with SSIDs, CELAs, SENR, and SIMP for each school site. Is there anything else I should be doing?
That is the student's profile. The SPRG program record is the last one, and knowing if those students are students with disability. So you got almost all of them correct for the new school year, except for the program and the student with disability records. So I don't know if that's what you're asking. You may want to find out who is your special ed data coordinator, and be sure that you're coordinating with them, that you know who the students are that need to be flagged as such, and that they're updating CalPads so that the system knows that they're students with disability, and then be aware what the essential program records are for this upcoming fall Census Day.
And this is all predicated on assuming that you have finished with your end of year work and you're working on getting your 22-23 enrollments in, and that's why you're working with the getting SSIDs and loading SENR, SELA, SIMP, and SPRIG data. Because if you still haven't finished up end of year, that would be your priority at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I was making that assumption since she didn't mention EOI.
iPad at 3:15. I still have the parent ed error. I have uploaded this year's, and that did not fix them.
It could be that there's a SIMP record that is not overlapping with that data. So we need an example and a ticket to help you further.
Yeah, and you want to make sure also the, oh, actually, never mind about that. Never mind. Yes, a ticket would be nice. Lily at 3:16, yes, everything, all in caps. I don't want to yell, so everything. I'm not sure what that's referencing. Let me roll back up here and see what Lily had talked about. Oh, I am not seeing what this is referencing.
You want to continue on? We can maybe
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, well, I'll just continue on. Lily, I'm sorry, I don't understand the remark, so I'm gonna move on.
Communication regarding the issues with requesting SSIDs, LPAC coordinators, and requesting information. That was her.
Then yes, everything. Good call.
So Brandy is working on the communication. Is that what where we landed?
We have not worked on any sort of targeted communication, letting, and I'm assuming we're talking about the issues that we're having with the SINF records and testing. Is that what we're talking about?
I think so. Okay. I think we were.
I do know that the Tom's team is aware of these particular issues. I don't know, Paula, if you're still on, if you think that it's warranted to send out something or have ETS send something out.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that, sending something out. I mean, something other than what we sent out.
No, the defects on the demographic records that are preventing kids from getting tested.
And she's also adding to that the frustration about not locating SSIDs after the submission is posted.
Right.
No, I mean, we can send, so we should just talk offline about the status of, because what I thought some of those defects we're trying to fix right away.
Yeah, I think what they're looking for is that they don't know what to tell their LPAC coordinators why data's not getting over in a timely manner. So
that there are defects in CalPads that we're trying to address as soon as possible.
That
and always that. It isn't always that. I mean, right now we know for sure that kids that are affected are about 150 kids in the state. And some of the tickets that I've been looking at or getting from ETS, it's because the grade level's wrong, or the enrollment status is incorrect, or they don't have a SINF record in there, right? So it's a whole host of different things. But you know, because like I said, right now,
I mean, the ones that are so we could list out some of the things so that LEAs could, if there's something they can fix it, and then identify, where it's CalPAD's problem.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for. We'll take that offline.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to 317, Vonda. I have a few students whom I have tried multiple times to get SSIDs, request successful but no SSID upon search or extract. Put in a ticket and told I was added to another ticket for this, but haven't heard anything. Is there still an issue being worked on?
So there was one originally when CalPADS launched, and that has been resolved. I did pull up your ticket, Vonda, and I saw that it's pretty old. I wondered if you could put in a new ticket, request the SSID again. I saw it was an OM transaction, so do that one more time, and then put in a ticket if you can't find the SSID and ask for Angela and provide the job ID, please. And I'll take a look and see if we could find it. Everybody should be getting an SSID now. There was a time where you couldn't find the students afterwards, but now you can. There are just, I think we talked about it on Monday, some tips and tricks you need to look out for. So download the SSID extract and search by local ID. Sometimes it's assigned to an SSID that you're not expecting, like it's a different student. That happens if you try to reuse your local student ID in your district. Sometimes when you're searching in online maintenance, if a student has two last names, the system doesn't do that great of a job finding the student. So I like to use the student lookup tab and then use the wildcard, the asterisk. So if they have two last names, just put one last name in and then the asterisk and see if that will have them help you bring the name back correctly. But everybody should be getting SSIDs now.
All right, thank you. Aaron, 318, I can't even get my SENR, SINF, and CELA posted today. How are we supposed to support testing? Well, today was, as Martha's put it, a bad day. We had, just as we noted this morning, we saw reports coming in and we tried to address it as quickly as we could. But obviously people were in full swing of loading data and ran smack dab into the issue as it was developing. So today was a particularly bad day for uploading data into CalPADS, and that should be resolved soon. I don't know, I haven't been on the string with the developers, but I know that there was a very robust discussion going on about getting it done as quickly as possible. So you have our apologies for that. And hopefully it will be back in the swing tomorrow morning. And 318 Lily is saying, regarding my Q1, please let me know if there will be any communication sent out. It's pretty frustrating that we cannot locate the SSIDs after the file submitted says posted. I would like to know what to tell our LPAC coordinators. So that was what we just discussed. So, and Alex, I see your Q2, 318. Maureen, 319, are CELA extracts okay to download? Yes, once the extracts return to service and were added back into that left-hand nav menu, the data should be extractable in any of the, or should be able to be created in any of those extracts. I don't know of any extract problems today. Rebecca at 321. I thought I heard on Monday that the LEAs could send in their SIMP with a ticket and it would be processed. Did I get that wrong? It was sent back to me as a known issue, which I already knew. Do we have a date as to when SIMP 453 will be fixed? Thank you all. You're working very hard and you are appreciated. Thanks, Rebecca.
I'll hunt that down, Rebecca, because we want to double check that your scenario isn't the reason of the defect. So we'll get back to you on your ticket. I'll go check it out.
Thank you, Martha. Carol at 321, a missing middle name means a record for the student with the same first and last name and same birthday, etc., but with the middle name isn't returned when searching the student data or request SSID search. Will this be fixed at some point? I've already found 2 undetected mids because of this. I knew we had a problem with the middle name search, and I don't know where that is in the process.
On the SSID tool, it wasn't even finding kids with a middle name.
And
but that was
still,
the tool.
Yeah, and it's still an active bug for the tool.
It does have to match exactly, so maybe we're picking up the wrong ID because the middle name didn't match. So we are trying to improve and make sure that the matching is better. So I think that's the goal with the variety of issues that we have on the SSID matching process.
All right. 322, Faith. Regarding Rebecca Morales's question, this has been an issue every year. It is more extreme this year as it is looking at last year's and this year's new students with new SSIDs.
I don't remember what Rebecca Morales's Q was.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going back up right now.
I think it has to do with the
here it is. No, that's Q2. Sorry.
Yeah, 453.
It is more extreme this year. Yep. It feels like everything's more extreme this year.
Okay, Rebecca Morales, is there a plan to recognize the most recent CINF amongst all certifications throughout the year for required fields such as parent ed level, race, U.S. school entry date, etc.? So that was the original comment.
And I think when we get the data discrepancy interface up and running, that you will be notified ahead of time that it's going to be a fatal in your particular submission. We did data certification data discrepancies before we did the DD for EOI.
All right. I just noticed the time. We're about 5 minutes past the hour. So if you need to drop off, I want to respect your time. Head on out. If you need our assistance, please open a service desk ticket and we'll go back to you as quickly as we can. Otherwise, we will see you next Monday at the office hours. Else, we will continue on until I'm told to shut up. Maria Ramirez, 322. I have 21 SPRIC 254 errors that I have tried to correct, but my changes keep getting rejected. The errors are for students that have not attended our district for years. I requested a revision and it did not clear the errors. What can I do? So the 254, invalid NSLP program record. So the problem with this was the duplication of them?
Yeah, but I found them to be legit. So Maria, you should send in a ticket so that we can take a look at your 21 records. Sometimes it has to do with ownership and that's why you're not able to fix it. So.
All right, Mika at 323. I have a current enrollment with the primary enrollment, SIMP and SELA, and it still doesn't show up.
Doesn't show up in Tom's. I don't know, Mika, what you're referring to. I don't know where it's not showing up.
Okay, Mika just put another comment in the box explaining that a little bit farther for us. Anita, I see your Q2. Marcy at 324. I have put through the info regarding the SIMP overlap date issue to Power School, and they seem to think it's a fix that will happen in CalPads. Can someone from CalPads communicate with them to let them know that this is a fix that they need to make within Power School to help us alleviate this error issue?
Yes, we will work with Power School.
All right, Ethan. 24. Helio at 324. I appreciate what each of you do in trying to make CalPads a functioning system, but for so many of us in small districts with limited staff coping with COVID-19 variant students and staff outbreaks, not to mention monkeypox, it's time for someone to fully take charge of CalPads and fix this mess. Right. Tara 324. I am trying to resolve a mid no longer on the report, but I get an error that there is an overlapping enrollment. The other district did a no-show. Is this a ticket? But when you're doing a mid merge, it's going to merge all of the SCNR data, and you can't resolve the mid by creating a CCE. So you have to look at all of the enrollment data on both SSIDs and make sure that there are no overlapping dates, because if there are, it's not going to allow you to merge them.
Well, that was the way it was in Legacy. That's not the case anymore, Paul. So it works a little bit differently now. But the problem is a defect, and it is 6271. And so you shouldn't have to use that resolve mid not on report function. You know, in theory that they should show up in your results grid, but they're not. If one of the students has a closed enrollment in the mid set, so that's a major problem. And part two of this bug that Alex has up is that if you go to use that resolve mid not on report, you get that invalid error message, which you shouldn't be getting. That error message should allow you to merge them. So anxiously awaiting that bug fix, by the way. That's my number one in my mind. So you can put in a ticket if you want, and we'll link you to that, or just keep an eye out on the known issues for that one to be marked as fixed, implemented, and then try to resolve the mid.
All right, at 325, Rebecca Morales sending to Brandy in reply to my Q1 that you asked, yes, it's been an issue for a few years now, but the SIMP 453 popped up new this year with hundreds for the missing parent ed level due to it being missing on the stub SIMP record. Angela or Alex, not sure who mentioned the effective start date. Yes, changing the SIS to now pull that student's original entry date is fine, but this was not necessary before. This new error came about after one of the new CalPads updates that took place 2 to 3 years ago.
And you know, I know SIMP 453 has been like the hot topic in this Q&A, and we're digesting everything you guys are saying. The plan right now is to be able to have sort of a strategic meeting tomorrow to kind of discuss strategies we can take to help you identify the errors that are legit. So anyway, we're going to have a conversation about this tomorrow, and hopefully we can give you some more information about it at the Monday Q&A.
Thank you, Brandy. 325, Marshall posted the SSID match tool trainings table of contents. 327, Heather, yes, what Rebecca said, we should not be getting that error for the initial SIMP record that is created when the SSID is pulled. That has never been a problem before this quote unquote upgrade. 328, Carol, regarding a previous question I asked about an SSID tool. I watched the videos that Nate did and they're very good, but it is the resulting file that we get is just unworkable. Why are we getting matches down in the 40% match on our records? The matching just doesn't seem to be working very well, resulting in a very high level of frustration. Is that a concern for others?
Yes, and I think we wrote a defect on it recently, right, Angela? You put one in?
We have several, yep.
And
so we want that better too.
We want that better. Unfortunately, that developer was out unexpectedly a bit this week, so back now. So hopefully we'll get some traction on that.
Marcy is agreeing with Heather and Rebecca that this is the first time that they have had SIMP issues. It didn't happen previously.
Well, that CVDs are new, right? The certification data discrepancies are brand new as part of the post redesign process. So it probably was showing up as an input validation before. And Brandy, I don't know what we would have done with the stub. Did we force them to do anything to fix that?
No, well, because only if it overlaps census day.
Okay. So you'll have that as part of your conversation tomorrow.
Our conversation, Angela.
Oh, am I invited? Okay. Good.
Agent issue.
Oh, occasion issue. Is it
Yeah.
Thursday? Tomorrow's Thursday already. Okay. Hey, before we go on, can we go back to Hope Durbin real quick? I thought a little bit more about her problem. She got caught up in the oops, something went wrong message, and so she was resending her SSID request file. And I think you're going to be okay, Hope, because this new system has some built-in feature that's going to prevent you from it reassigning a bunch of new SSIDs. So every time you send in that same local ID for Fontana, it's going to keep assigning the same SSID. So you shouldn't have 3 IDs for your set of kids that you've sent up 3 times. It should have just reissued the same SSID every time.
And that's the operative word. It should have. That's our hope.
I can almost guarantee. I mean, that thing works to a fault. Works really well to a
Ouch.
All right, I believe we're at 329 Fabiola. Hello, we have encountered situations in where SSID manual requests for kindergarten students are rejected with the SCNR 262. Our student birth dates are after 9/2/17. Is this a known issue? I could not find it.
It's typically because the student isn't 4 years old.
Yeah.
Or the original
was entered incorrectly the first time, right? Alex has a handle on that one. So the workaround is to try to enroll the student as a first grader and then go fix the birth date if that was the root cause, that the birth date is in there incorrectly. And then you can go change the student back to a kindergartner. If the student is legitimately not 4 years old at the enrollment start date, hold off on enrolling them until they turn 4, I believe is what we're saying, right?
Yep.
All right, DeGroot at 329. Kindly revisit Rebecca Morales' question, timestamp 303 on the SIMP 453. Unless I'm missing something, I'm not sure why we need to fix an error on the SIMP record that is created when the SSID is pulled for the first time, if subsequent SIMP records include all of the info that is required.
And that will be in our discussion.
There's a bunch more. Cert 453 questions. I wonder if we can skip those. We have, you know, we got what you guys are trying to say, and we'll have more discussions and get back to you.
Understood. Debbie at 331. Yes, that is correct. Do not send up any SPED until after September 9th. Okay. Sorry, SIMP 553. Rocio at 332, question 1. Is there an active issue for CERT 154 missing student incident record? For a student, I do have an existing case, but the last response I received was from July 27th that the case was going to be escalated as a known issue. I don't see it in active issues. Any solutions or workarounds? The only thing that works is not reporting the incident at all. This is only for one student that is in the NPS site.
No active issue. Sometimes I think we have orphan records going on. So maybe send in a new ticket because your other one is, I don't know, no man's land.
That sounds it sounds familiar just because it says NPS. And I don't know, Rocio, if that was a ticket I helped with that I may have escalated. If in your new ticket, if you have the original ticket number, I can dig a little deeper and figure out, because I did have an issue with one of the NPS that I escalated.
Thank you, Alex.
Right at 3:34, Larnie is giving us the information that we asked for her previous question. Other review to transfer him to the alternative school, and no, we conducted the other review meeting, not the new LEA.
Okay, so you guys conducted the review, not the county office. So well, I mean, again, it just depends on whether or not it was actually an annual or an amendment. I'm assuming it was one of those. And what time stamp is this at, Paul? I'm sorry.
Larnie was 3:34.
3:34. Review. Okay. So I still don't know what other review is. So the first question we got to answer is whether or not you actually have to send up that record, because I don't know what other review means. If it's just an amendment, or if it's, I mean, obviously you would need to send up an amendment, but you could send up that amendment, and then when the student actually transfers to the COE, they can adopt it. I mean, that's.
And Brandy, if they're going to be sending that as if it's truly an amendment or an annual, for instance, and since the kid had already left that school because the student was expelled, then they should actually submit it as on a district level, at the district level. Is that right?
I mean, they could if the student since left, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. There were a couple of SIM 453 comments, some crosstalk, and we're down to the 3:37 with Wendy Rapp. I'm currently, as of this Q&A, trying to get SSIDs for my EL students that are TBD so they can be tested within the 30-day window. First, it just spins and spins. Now it's giving me this something went wrong message. How the heck do you expect us to get these SSIDs when everything is broken? The SSIDs are the foundation of everything in CalPADS, and you have taken every efficient way for us to get those SSIDs. What do you expect us to do? And the developers don't think this is high priority. I don't understand this. You know, again, today was a very bad day. And I'm not trying to make light of that. It's been frustrating at every level. We can't really help people as we would like. You can't get the work done as you would like. You know, this is less than optimal for everyone. And I just have the words of encouragement to, you know, just keep, you know, plodding on. But, you know, today was not a good day to be in the field. I apologize for that. Stephanie had the same issue as Hope, but luckily hers was a small test file. Back. Morrison 453. Shelley. 453. Expressing line. Carol. Okay, a lot of. Okay, we have a comment from Rebecca at 348. Comment 1. I think you interpreted what Russ meant exactly, but even if we will be obligated to fix, okay, it's more than 453. Sorry. Randy was also excited in Stephanie sure. Okay, commentaries. All right. 4 o'clock, Kyron posted the link to searching for SSIDs. So that way everybody has it available. All right, we're getting down to the bottom, and it's mainly 453s and crosstalk and some commentary. So I'm assuming we're not going to go back and hit the Q2 since we're 25 minutes over. So with that, thank you for this. Everything that you say is obviously heard by us. And Paula and Brandy were on here, and they're going to be talking about a lot of this tomorrow. And some of us will be involved at that, some of us won't. Welcome, Brandy. I'm sorry, welcome, Angela. But again, today was a bad day. I'm sorry for that. But please don't let this completely destroy you. Just keep moving forward, control what you can control, and we're just gonna have to live within the bounds of what we can't control at the moment. Please put in service desk tickets, knowing that we're a little bit behind, but we will get back to you as quickly as we can if we didn't get to your Q2s, or if you needed additional help with your Q1s. And we will see you next Monday at the office hours.